Session 9 times. This is a film that I've been wanting to review for quite a while. And then recently I got hit up by the wonderful, the beautiful Ashley Crisman, and she asked me if I would review something for her. And she picked a few different titles, and I was like, Session 9, that was one of the titles. Please, yes, this is one I've been wanting to do forever. Perfect excuse. So, Ashley, here you go, sweetheart. All right, so you want to talk about atmosphere. Holy shit, man. This movie essentially is the epitome of atmosphere. This film has, I know I've said that on a couple films, but I meant that on them, whatever films I've said that about in the past, and I will say it on this one. This film relies so heavily on its atmosphere. And, if you want to study atmosphere, here's another perfect title to study. Because my God, is it just thick throughout. Now, I will say this. The very first time I watched this movie, I didn't care for it. I found it to be dull and boring, and I didn't really understand what the hubbub was. Then for years, I kept seeing this pop up on every fucking person's top 10, supernatural movies. Like, ever. This was on almost every list. And I was just like, I don't understand. What did I miss the first time? So I went back and I shut off my cell phone and I turned off all the lights and I just sat and I paid attention. And by the end of the film, I think probably like 10 minutes in, I was like, wow, this movie's fucking eerie. This movie's creepy. And then as it just kept going and as it kept going, I was just more and more into it. And towards the end, I was just like, what the hell? This is probably the biggest turnaround I've ever had on a movie, on a second watch. I don't know of any film that I've ever had this big of a turnaround where the first time I would have gave it like a 3 or a 4. Like, I seriously didn't like it at all. I was so bored. And I thought the film kind of looked like shit. I didn't think it was aesthetically a very attractive film, which is actually a charm now to me for it, just because of kind of the washed out, muted palette and everything that fits the condemned insane asylum that's within the film. But then it went up to like a 9.5 or something. Like, it was an enormous jump. I only have like small issues with it, but yeah, never, ever, ever, ever have I had a jump like that. You've got two actors in here from the CSI universe, I suppose. You've got Brass from the original CSI, and you've got Horatio, of course, played by David Caruso from CSI Miami. And a lot of great actors in this, from Josh Lucas to Brendan Sexton III, whose name definitely isn't fucking Warren. And then Peter Mullins, and it's solid cast. And you even got Larry Fessenden in here for I don't know, about a minute. But yeah, I just, man, watching this yet again, this is a film that, like, not only am I really just engaged throughout from the second viewing on, but I'm also just trying to figure out what is happening in this movie. Now, I did actually this time watch the deleted scenes and alternate ending. That was really interesting because that changed everything in that version. So essentially everything they cut out from the movie and the alternate ending, which plays into all the alternate scenes, there's a character in this movie completely missing because of the alternate scenes. And that character is in the ending as well and plays a very, very pivotal part. So Mary, or somebody, I can only assume it's Mary, But although it's said that she's deceased on in the paper or in the files. So, but it's got to be Mary, right? Anyways, I assume it is. I should have listened to the commentary on it. Some woman, some freaking one that was squatting there. It could be somebody else, I suppose. But there's this crazy woman there. I'm going with Mary, and they just keep showing her around the insane asylum, just kind of hiding in the corners. And then at the end, she kills Gordon, and Gordon's kind of laying there, dying, and reflecting on the past like he does at the end of this movie. So, wow, I mean, a dramatic change. A completely new character that's laced throughout the film if those scenes would have been in, and then the ending is added onto by Gordon's demise. Wow. What do I prefer? I prefer it with her not in it. But having watched it, it it definitely was really cool, really interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with the version we got here, because for me, this film, I don't really exactly know how to view what happens in this movie. Like, this is evil is set loose, like when he cracks the seal on that box, but that's not when it happens. Because you got the guy comes in and he's opens up the box and he cracks the thing open, and then it looks like the demon gets out. But by that point, Gordon had already killed his wife and his kid. Like, Gordon had killed his wife and his kid right after the very first inspection, like day one, like right when we see it. Then they come the next day to start with the cleanup crew and everything. So Gordon goes home that day and kills his wife and his kid. From what I took from it, yes, right? I mean, I've definitely been wrong before, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm seeing in this, he does the inspection. He is vulnerable because of the stress, because of his lack of desire for the kid, because of all these things that are going on with him. And when his wife burns his leg, comes through the door, he's kissing on her, buys her flowers, whatever. She spills the hot water on his leg. He snaps. He hears Simon. Simon says, "Kill your wife." Simon says, "Kill the baby." Simon says, "Kill the dog," because I think in the alternate scenes there's a dog as well that gets killed. But regardless, so yeah, I mean, you could start to come up with all sorts of different theories if you wanted to. I was sitting there thinking, all right, so Mary has multiple personalities. And here's Gordon, and they said that patients from the past, which the place has been closed down for at least 15 years, patients from the past end up coming back. And I'm sitting there thinking, what if Gordon was a patient? What if he was a young guy? And the reason that even came to my head is because they kind of, impose Gordon's face and Mary's face together in a scene. And for a second, I was like, wait, is he Mary? Then I'm like, wait, no. They're for sure. She's for sure a chick, and he's for sure a guy. And I was like, no, okay, that doesn't work. But then I was like, well, maybe he was a patient there. And maybe maybe the cleanup crew that's with him are his other personalities. But we know for sure that Phil, played by Caruso, is there, because when they're bidding on it, he does have a conversation with both of them. But yeah, I was sitting there I'm like, I wonder if this, but then Phil's interacting with everyone else in the movie as well. So it doesn't work, but as I was watching it with the multiple personality thing and all the voices, but then I'm like, well, could this all be in her head? Whatever. There's so many theories I guess you could go down, but I think what is the most obvious thing here is that Simon preys on the weak and the wounded. So Mary brought this in to the place after she killed her brother and her father or whatever happened there, um, and she left it there. It died. She died, and it stayed there, and it haunted the halls until Gordon came in, and Gordon was vulnerable to this possession, and he takes it home, kills his wife and his kid, and throughout the rest of it, it's just him in full-blown denial, and he almost does break off into some psychotic, delusional state where he thinks that his wife is still alive. He's trying to call her. He goes and drives past the house, and this is, I mean, I've said this before in the past. Like, this is a film that a lot of kids would watch, or not even kids. I don't want to blame it all on kids because there's plenty of adults that would do the same thing. But there's going to be a lot of people who would watch this movie, like myself in the very first viewing, and be like, "This is boring," and they would be like, "This isn't horror." To which now, of course, having watched it a few times, I beyond beg to differ. You know, I demand to differ. The psychosis. I've said this before. I think I did it in my Shining review. I've done it in a few different places. The very thought of losing yourself, you know, losing what makes you you, losing that ability to stop yourself from lashing out and doing horrible things, that fear of snapping and hurting those that you love most is the scariest thing imaginable to me. Now, it's not going to be to everybody, but maybe most people are so mentally stable that the thought of losing their mind just isn't scary to them because they're not even have an inkling. Like, there's nothing there that would for them, and they've never even contemplated that line between what makes a serial killer snap and you know, what makes them cross that line that we never cross. Maybe they've never even contemplated this thing. Maybe because they never would in a million years. Or maybe they're in denial about it. I don't know. But for people like me, people who I would assume a lot of people who are into movies like this, or at least these movies creep the shit out of them, because this is the kind of movie that plays on that biggest fear of, you know, your instability. You know, I'm not perfectly mentally stable. I mean, I'm pretty damn stable. I function in society pretty damn well. I've never done anything horrible, but I have horrid anxiety disorders and panic attacks, and you know, I question my sanity at times. But there is that line. There is that line that separates someone like me from someone like a serial killer or something, and it's a scary line, because you're like, when do they cross it? Were they ever like me? And I feel like if you've ever contemplated that seriously, then these kinds of movies get in your head. If that's never been a thing to you, maybe this isn't. Or maybe it would be too. I don't know, but I'm just guessing here. I'm just kind of spitballing. I never really thought about it until right this second. So, but maybe that's the disconnect. Maybe that's why people find films like this, and The Shining and other films, to be boring, to be like, that's not horror. Where's the jump scares? Like, the monsters are what scare me. And while if a monster came to life in reality and was coming at me, of course I'd be terrified, you know? If fucking, you know, The Thing was a real monster in real life, anybody would be scared. That's obvious. But because it's so disconnected from reality for me, I don't find things like The Thing scary, or any other monster movies per se. But the reality of someone's mind snapping, a sickness creeping into your mind, and you doing things that you never thought you would, it's just, that's the scariest fucking thing for me. And the way this film just lingers the shots in this movie, these long takes of just a chair sitting in this open area and this voiceover work with these different characters coming out of this one character, this voice of the princess and of course of Simon at the end with that creepy ass voice and the "do it, Gordon." Shout out to Katie Wu. We both are quoters of the "do it, Gordon" line. I'll just randomly yell that thing out at times. Even though on this viewing, I was very surprised to find out that there is no actual yelled "do it, Gordon." I thought at one point there was an exclamation of "do it, Gordon," and I thought that actually came at the very, very end. But I was wrong on that. The very last line is "I live in the weak and the wounded," which is a fantastic closing line, and it kind of explains everything you want. In my opinion, as I said, if you're just kind of taking it right at face value, it's a demon possession. Gordon was weak in the moment. His wife burned him. He killed him. Was in full-blown denial about it. And then throughout the rest of it was trying to finish the job, get things done, but then, just mentally kept breaking. And as he did, people started to turn on him in his mind. He didn't like the infighting between Phil and Hank. And then, obviously Hank is telling the secrets of what Gordon told to him in confidence about hitting his wife. And, that's, I think, when he finally just fully snaps and kills everybody. But yeah, I mean, just it's the shot selection, it's the music, the music. This music is so off-putting. There's something so different about this music. I don't know exactly how to explain it. It actually kind of reminds me of the music in Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Not any of the Marilyn Manson or the actual soundtrack, but I'm talking about the score where the composer went out and recorded sounds of the forest and then screwed with them in some kind of audio program or whatever. I feel like there's something going on like that here. There's just very eccentric, odd music, and it complements this film so well because of how odd and eccentric the film feels at times. And I can't say enough good about the atmosphere in this film, the music, the acting. The acting is fantastic. The characters are great. The only real issue I might have with the film is the film is called Session 9, and when this dude is sitting there and he's listening to Mary's tapes and it's pertaining to the past, there is a disconnect for me between the events on the tape and how they kind of correlate with the present. I don't feel like there's enough connection. There should have been more cues towards what was going on in that audio and how it's really kind of maybe mirroring the moment, because there are moments where there's kind of mirrored sequences where dude drops a coin and the other dude drops a coin. One lands on heads, the other one lands on tails, some duality thing. I don't know what to take from that kind of stuff, but I just didn't find the correlation and the connection as much from the tape to the present. It just Mary's there to explain to us how she was taken, and because of course, with the multiple personality thing, they just think that Simon is one of her many personalities, along with Princess and whatever. And so they're just thinking, oh, she's crazy, she's crazy. But we know now that she wasn't, and that Simon was, something supernatural beyond her own mental illness. And she was just, of course, very weakened state. Just, I think, on an everyday kind of basis. Gordon trying to take that job in 1 week. Do you see the size of that place? They couldn't even do one freaking wing of that thing in a week. That place is enormous. Supposedly they've torn this place down now. But what an incredible building. Jesus Christ, what a setting for a movie. Anybody would be just so lucky to get in a building like that and make a horror movie. It's just crying out to have a movie made in it, a horror movie especially. I love the scene with Josh Lucas's character here, and he's just sitting up in there, Hank. And Hank's a dick, man. Hank's a dick. You don't really care about Hank all that much just because he's purposely screwing Phil's girlfriend just to piss him off. And then they have the scene where she's sitting there like yelling at him when he's like sitting on the couch. He doesn't even like her. He's just doing it to piss Phil off. That is fucking evil. Like, I'm surprised that Gordon even lets him work there with that kind of bullshit. That is some childish ass. Why the hell does Phil not beat the shit out of this guy? And even if he can't, he should be taking swings at this guy. What the hell? That's crazy. Have you ever had somebody who's just fucking your girlfriend to spite you and just hangs around you and you work with them and they're just like throwing insults and shade at you all the time and being like, I fucked your wife and she told me to say hi to you while we were in bed together this morning, and what an asshole. But anyway, love when he finds the coins. Now, who laid the coins out like that? Or is Simon able to manipulate physical objects? Like, did Gordon go down there and then leave a trail of breadcrumbs to the wall? He gets in the wall and he finds the little ice pick that you do lobotomies with, whatever the hell that thing's called. So what was that? Was that some physical, manipulation by a demon or haunted area? I don't know. Now, I think in the alternate scenes, whoever that character is has a bunch of stuff laid out on the floor in these very specific patterns, and then she's got like 3, 3, 3, 3, and then it like pans back and it's like a whole room of like things laid out. It's really cool looking. So could she have been the one that was like taking coins and putting them in the walls or stuff she found, or was that a patient from the past and they just left a couple coins out and there's a very obvious place where you can see that they're there, but then it brings them the little ice pick thing? Like, I don't know what to make of that scene, but I do like after he's been lobotomized, he's standing up there. What are you doing here? And then, he talks to him a little more, and then, what are you doing here? And he touches and he rubs the blood. That's just creepy shit, man. That's just creepy ass shit. And yes, there's not a jump scare in this movie. There's not like barely an on-screen kill. There's one. Essentially, he takes the pick out and he pops it in Larry Fissenden's eye, and that's about it. So there's no kills, there's no chicks, so there's no nudity, there's no hot chicks or anything. Man, there's barely any profanity. There's some. Maybe say fuck 5 times or so, and we get the greatest fuck you of all time. I think this movie's famous for the fuck you. So anyone who's seen this movie, of course, remembers that sequence. But yeah, no gore, no tits, no real foul language, no jump scares. This is a patient man's, thinking man's, or woman, Ashley and Katie and all the other ladies that love this shit. This is a thinking person's film. So, and also, as I said, a patient person's film. Somebody who really likes to just let things slowly, creepily unfold, like a Mothman Prophecies or something, where just a film I adore. A film that's just a complete slow atmospheric build, and then it just kind of leaves you feeling really ugly. Like at the end, like everything just kind of ends and you're like, oh, God, fuck, man. This is where you find out that he killed his wife and his kid, and he's killed everyone else that he's worked with, and betrayed his family, betrayed not only his kid and his wife, but also his cousin, and or nephew. That's sorry, not cousin, nephew. And then his best friend and all that. Like, it's horrible. I do like that he has their bodies laid out, so he's like walking past room by room and he sees like each person, and then it shows how they died in the moment. Great stuff. Well, that's like perfect editing. Take a lesson. Take a page out of this. Editing in this movie is fantastic as well. Just the way things are kind of blended together, and the choices of when to show things and when not to show things, and as I said, just kind of like the voiceover when it's kind of showing, they just like B-roll shots in this movie of just like a sweeping shot of the top of the asylum, or one stationary shot of a chair in a fucking hallway, or something like that. Like, as I said, B-roll footage in this is as effective, scary as effective as any fucking creepy ass jump scare from a Conjuring or Insidious movie or whatever that people love. I'm not saying I don't like those movies. I absolutely do. But I'm just saying, like, when you can take B-roll footage like that, overlay some creepy ass unsettling music, and some really cool, scary ass voiceover, and have the atmosphere that's built to that, because it earns all of that from previous sequences, and then the film never lets up on its atmosphere. It's created from second one till second's end, and it just gradually, just like a really slow ascent. It's masterful. And Brad Anderson is fucking a masterful director in this film. He's done a lot of shit since, a lot of TV stuff and whatnot. He did that Fractured movie recently with Sam Worthington on Netflix, which I actually quite enjoyed, and he's done other things like The Machinist and whatnot, but of all the things I've seen that he's done, this is the best thing he's ever done. I don't know, I haven't seen everything he's ever done, but this is my personal favorite for sure. And let me see if I can figure out anything more to talk about here before I cut it out. Why do they quit so late, and why are they always on break? These guys need to get this place done in a week. This enormous place. This is a mansion times fucking 10. Like, more than that. This is huge. This place is absolutely enormous. And every fucking 5 minutes, they're on break. And also, they're like walking around, they're joking. And none of them seem to be taking the health safety requirements all that serious at times. But in addition to that, like, they're talking about, like, all right, good first day, guys. All right, let's get home, this and that. And it's like bright daylight outside. It doesn't look like dusk. And even if that's the case, as little time as you have, you guys got generators. You guys got lights. Like, they should be working 12-hour days or more, to meet this deadline. Because they're like, oh, we need 3 weeks. This job takes 3 weeks, and like bare minimum 2. So you need to work twice as much, if not 3 times as much as you would. So if it's an 8-hour day, it needs to be a fucking 16-hour day if you're going to actually hit this deadline. But the sun is still bright in the sky and they're going home. Yeah, I get they got there at like 6 in the morning and maybe it's like 5. Whatever. And as I said, why are they breaking so much? Like, they have, what, a 5-person crew for this absolutely incredibly outrageously large building? There's no way. There's no way. So I find that to be beyond ridiculous, how many people they have and the time in which they're amounted to do it. It would take 40 fucking people 3 weeks to do that size of a place and what they're trying to get done. So I can't believe that that's real, but whatever, I don't really care. And I think that's pretty much it. I think I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about here. Larry's character does not put up much of a fight when he's getting killed. I'll tell you that. And he's a total idiot. He's like, I don't understand what's going on here. And then he starts attacking him. He's like, what are you doing, Gordon? And then he sits there and he's like waiting, and he's like, Gordon's just holding him with one arm. And he pulls the things out, and this guy's not fighting him at all as he pulls it out. And then he just slips it in his eye. What the hell is up with this guy? He definitely needs to fight back a little more if he wants to live. So anyways, Ashley, thank you for picking this. This was fun to talk about. I don't know. I don't know where the hell I was going to go there, but I really appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you in our private chats on Instagram. Is that where we talk? Instagram? Yeah, Instagram. You need to get on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Fuck, I don't know what the hell. It's 2 a.m. I gotta go to bed, guys. Ashley, thank you, and good night. Do it.